I had them on line before I dial up. How they claiming they on top and I'm a mile up. I had them on line before I dial up. How they claiming they on top and I'm a mile up. I know the wall's closing in, but don't you dare give up now. Poe believed in me, pull up through some bucks down. Todd told the valet pull the truck round. Push the line up that we drew it, it's just us now. Would you believe me if I told you my granny told me she prayed this? Then booked the surgery just to pull me out of the basement. Right back where I started, nothing to show for a facelift. Got pushed playing Walter White and Davis, never felt so dangerous. The type of power they can't quantify. And name the best from my region, you gotta utter mine. Think of who really putting on, you never come to mind. Rapping like your Spotify, tap you rappers compromise. Yeah, no need to panic, just paint the canvas. If you can feel the static, you're too close, find your balance. Embed the revolution for they prohibition bandwidth. Blood trickle from the leaders he was planning. Had them all line before I dial up.
Ikoi Kaleo. I greet you all in the Yoruba language. My name is Baba Luqman, and along with my co-host Ray Wilkerson, we welcome you all to another episode of the Waters of Healing. But before we do that, let us begin first by thanking the Creator for giving us the gift of life, intelligence, and awareness. We seek the Creator's guidance and help. We acknowledge our humanness and that we are creatures that rely upon the earth, and in that we must develop a healthy relationship with everyone and everything around us. We seek to develop men who are not in conflict with their surroundings. Let us also repeat to ourselves the affirmation, the Black man affirmation, that Black men are extraordinary, Black men are sensational, that Black men are remarkable, that Black men are incomparable, that Black men are phenomenal, Black men are kings, and that Black men are necessary. So let me first introduce you to my co-host and my cousin, Ray Wilkerson.
What's going on out there? But listen, before we get this thing going, I got to get some housekeeping out the way. Because y'all know I just turned. Look, first thing I need y'all to do, right? I need y'all, if you haven't done that yet, I need you to hit that subscribe button. And hit that subscribe button. And what's going to happen after you hit that subscribe button? This bell going to come up. I need you to hit that bell because that's going to give you a notification to let us know what's jumping. And then what I need you to do after that, hit that like button. Let everybody know you like us. And after you like us, then share that thing. I need y'all to share that thing. Share that thing. And if you share the Facebook, tag 10 men. So listen, this your guy, Ray Wilkerson, coming to you live all the way from here. Go take it over, cuz.
Hey, look, so this is our episode 3. And we just like to thank everyone out there for supporting us the way that you have. A lot of you men out there have hit us up and have let us know how much you appreciate the program. You appreciate us, and we appreciate you. If you are new to the Water of Healing podcast, the Water of Healing podcast seeks to help men, help us to talk, help us to deal and relate with what's going on in us and what's going on around us. For we believe that Black men need healing, just like we all need healing, and that the specific traumas that we have suffered uniquely as Black men is that we have our own ways of dealing with that trauma. And it is important to us that if we are going to be healthy inside and have healthy relationships with those around us, those in our family and those around us, and if we are going to be those men who aren't in constant conflict with everyone and things around us, then we need to heal. So Ray, we're going to discuss today, and I thank you for this topic that you have brought, because this is something that we both share. And so today we will be discussing religion and the Black male, which is a really touchy subject. As I know, Ray, and as you know, how religion and is a touchy subject with a lot of Black males. So why does there seem to be tension between some Black men and traditional faith expressions? So we will first discuss the role that the church can play in the emotional and spiritual development of Black men and boys. Here with us to discuss this and other issues pertaining to this topic is my co-host, Ray Wilkerson. And Ray, introduce our guest, will you?
And we have my guy, my apostle, Apostle Kayam Shepherd out of Kingston, North Carolina. How you doing, sir? And if you mind, just tell the people a little bit about yourself,
Right.
and then we're going to jump right into this thing. I'm telling you, we're going to jump right into this thing.
I'm originally from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Came here in 1985 by way of divine intervention. Started this Christian journey 25 years ago. I and my wife planted a church here in Kingston. Been married 25 years. Have 3 children and 4 grandchildren. Working in various community, local government, on several boards. The Lenore County Juvenile Crime Prevention Council. I represent the faith-based community there. I'm on a diversity. This is actually with our county, the county commissioners. They asked me about being a part of a diversity team to represent our entire county. And I'm now helping them formulate that particular council, that board, amongst some other things I do in the community. But I'm pleased to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, we're glad to have you. So Ray, get it started, man. So what's going on?
So we're going to come from a couple of different angles. You know, why is black men leaving the church? Why does there seem to be more black women in church than black men? But I just want to give a statistic real quick before we get started, because it's a whole lot of negativity about black men in church. But it's 7 in 10 black men go to church or believe in religion. That's 69%. 80% of black women go. But here's the thing that we never talk about. In comparison to Hispanic men and white men, Hispanic men 50% and white men 44%, and we're at 69. So, but let's get this thing started. I just want to throw them statistics out there. So, Apostle, why is there more women? Why are black men leaving the church? You know, let's just start from there, and then we could just jump into the rest of it. Wherever you want to start at.
Well, that's a loaded question because there's several different factors that have to be considered. One thing that we have to understand that, we wondering why black men aren't in the church. We have to ask the question why they're not in the home. We don't have black men in the home. And so if we don't have them in the home, we're not going to have them in the church. They're not representing the community. So we don't have strong communities. You can't have a strong community if you don't have a strong home. And so I think it's the last time I looked at the statistics, there was in our communities, 70%, 76% of our homes are led by single women. So you got over 70% of black families led by single women, black women. Then that shows you and tells you one reason why you're seeing more women in churches than men, because there are no men in the homes, over 70%. And so lately I've seen where that statistic has been challenged. But right here, we got maybe this is a small city in the South. We have maybe 9 projects in close proximity. And I will walk with you to all 9 of those projects, and we can knock on the doors. And there maybe 300 units in each project. And you might find 6 men out of 300 units in each project. And out of 300 units, 270 units going to have at least 3 children in. So we're wondering why there are no black men in the church. We got to start with the home first. So
All right,
that's one aspect.
but
yes, sir.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead, finish.
Another aspect is we have to now. It's an information age, and so the younger people have a lot of questions, and I'm going to admit it, that a lot of the pastors can't answer. And because they're not doing their due diligence in digging into the text, and I'm talking about going outside. I believe in the scriptures, but we have to understand the history of the church. We have to understand the scriptures in context, and we have to understand the history or the historical context of the scriptures. And we have to understand, as Black people, our or African history as it relates to the Bible. We have to be able to present that to our people. If we can't, gone are the days, well, it's just this way because that's what my pastor said. And gone are the days, well, the Bible, you don't debate the Bible. If the Bible said that, it's true. Those days are gone. You have to be able to articulate what you believe. Peter said, always be ready to give man an answer as to why you believe what you believe. And as for debating, Jude says we should always be prepared to earnestly contend for the faith. And so we have to have answers for our community, and we have failed up until now. Now there are brothers and sisters who can give answers and have answers and have dug into the books and study, and have studied the history of the church and can answer a lot of these claims that have come from various opponents of Christianity, from Kemet, from the Hebrew Israelite community. A lot of these different communities have brought challenges that before now couldn't be answered. But now brothers and sisters can answer these challenges with facts, not emotion, not opinions, but with facts. And before they couldn't. So we actually was doing a disservice because our people, our men, looking for answers. And believe it or not, men don't want to go. When I got saved, I came off the streets, banging, using, slanging. And so, I didn't really care nothing about, I was raised, my grandmother raised me going to church. So when I got of age, I didn't want to hear nothing about no church. But it came to a point in my life where I know I needed some intervention at the way my life was going. And so after the Lord intervened in my life, I knew I needed to be in a good church to learn and to grow. I had that much sense. And the church that I went to, out of all the churches that I could have went to, I ended up in a church where when I walked in there, it wasn't men sashaying around and a bunch of women, on the wall. There were men on the wall, standing strong, standing tall, clean cut, disciplined, and in order. And that, I never saw that before. And that drew me. And there was a leader in that church who was he was a man's man. And he was protective over, he taught us to protect the ladies and the children and to be men. And I needed that. I needed discipline because I didn't have it. I needed structure because I had none. And that's what I learned. And I carry that now in my teaching and so forth. So one thing Black men look for that turns them off with church, they don't want to see a bunch of effeminate men sashaying around in the church. That right there, they hate that. I talk to men all the time. They don't want to see that. They don't want to see a preacher grabbing his ear and hollering and spitting. They want to be taught. They want teaching. They want instruction. They want discipline, and they want structure. And if they're not getting that, that's why they gravitate to these. Even though I've talked to a lot of men, honestly, it's not even about the theology of a particular group that they gravitate toward. It's about the camaraderie and the organizational structure that they see the rank and file of the men.
Well, Apostle, I just wanted to jump in here for a minute.
Yes, sir.
One of the things and I'm glad that you spoke about the way that you that's true. You can't have men in the church if there's not men in the home. But then, one of the things that I've seen a lot is that it's very, in that situation there, it's very easy for us to beat up on black men. I think you hear all the time, well, black men, have left the homes and they're irresponsible because black men are around.
I'm not saying that, dear brother. And didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry. Please forgive me.
No, that's all right.
Let me bring some clarity, and then I want to hear you. I'm not castigating our men because there are reasons, not all the time, but there are reasons for a lot of times why men aren't in the home. I deal with men, so I know a lot of times it's so many reasons and factors that weigh into why men aren't there. It's not all the time because men don't want to be there, but there's a lot of factors that play into it. It's a lot of men that haven't been developed because a lot of things are generational behaviors that men deal with. They don't know how to cope. They don't know how to deal with what they're faced with because they were never taught. We got grown men that we're teaching how to groom themselves because they don't know how. Nobody's never taught them. So if nobody never taught you how to take care of your family, if nobody never taught you, you can't say, well, he just ought to know. No, if he's never been taught, then we got to teach him.
Right.
We that know how, it's our responsibility. We have to teach them. So no, I'm just stating the obvious. They're not there. I'm not beating up on them and saying, well, they should be. No, I mean, it's a reason they're not there. The fact is they're not there. But I ain't in no way killing the brothers because, they're not there, man. But yeah, it's some other factors that come into play by them not being there. Society oftentimes has a lot to do with them not being there. So it's a lot of factors, man, that, there was at one time, and I know you can give language to this, that there was a calculated plan to extract the brothers out of the home. And that plan is still going on to empower the women and castigate the men. And that plan is in effect today.
Right. And you just basically took it where I was going to go. And I wasn't. Yeah, I wasn't saying. But when I was bringing it up, I wasn't saying that you personally was castigating the men. What I was going to say is that the situation that we find ourselves in, a lot of people, and maybe I should have clarified it more, that a lot of people have taken on the position of blaming black men for this. One of the and then we got to deal with the myths and challenges too of the challenges of the myths that black men are burdened with. And one of those myths, Apostle, is the myth of our children being fatherless. We know, and you're right, that there aren't a lot of black men physically in the homes, but we know that that doesn't mean that that the fathers aren't involved in their children's life. In fact, there was a study that was done by the CDC that stated that fatherlessness amongst in the black community isn't always defined by living arrangements, and the CDC said that over 70% of black children who are fatherless is a myth, and that's come from the CDC. That in fact, the majority of black fathers actually live with their children, and as the statistics go, like 2.5 million versus 1.7 million who don't. And they found out that even those who don't live with their children, that there is a large percentage of black men, over 50%, that actually are involved in their in their children's life. And you're right about one thing, Apostle, about the way that society, because there was also another article that stated that the system, and all of us, I'm sure, have had dealings with the system, whether it's child support, family court, whatever, and found out that these very systems don't even allow black men to even be involved in their families. Now, I know I got personal experience with that myself, where, family court have these mediators and everything else, and you're trying to be a father. And then here you got people who you don't know, who don't know you, and they claim they got the best interests of the children, but yet they're doing everything they can to keep you from being the father. Now, the other thing that I also wanted to say, because of your experience about when I was growing up in church, the other experience that I felt and that I experienced was the opposite of what you experienced. When I was the churches that I grew up with, there were men in the church, but they were men who was guarding their position. And so as a young man like myself who wanted to get involved, who tried to get involved, I ran up against a wall of deacons. That's what I call it. Yeah, a wall of deacons who just would not allow the younger men coming up like myself to be involved in the everyday workings of the church. And it frustrated me so much, Apostle, that I left the church, and then and I got dissatisfied with the church. And then and you hit it on the nail when you talked about that camaraderie that men look for, because I saw that in Islam. And when I left the church, I saw what I felt was a more masculine expression in the Muslim community. And so I gravitated there, and a lot of young men, have done the same thing. So, I mean, hey, look, maybe if, and I don't know, but maybe if I would have went to a church like the one that you went to, maybe things would have been different. But, but let's address that too, about the fact that a lot of young men, and men period, find themselves going to these churches where the men who are already there are just guarding the position, and they won't allow other men to come in. Could you speak to that, please?
Let me just jump in real quick. I want to just read a couple of things. Malcolm X Center stated, he said, there is another study that says black men are the most engaged in the lives of their children. Also, David talked about greetings, Luqman Nation. Thank you for your wonderful variety of contents. Love y'all. We also have Miss Vivian online right now. Okay, I just wanted to give every now and then I'm going to shoot over there and acknowledge some questions if they have. If you guys have some questions, get with us later on. But go ahead, Apostle.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that unfortunately that's a reality. The power structure, the old deacon structure, and it's really unbiblical, because when the apostles in the book of Acts, when they employed deacons, the reason they employed deacons was to wait tables. Mm-hmm. The Hebrew women and the Grecian women were arguing over the daily feeding. And so the apostles got together and they said, well, look, we don't really have time to get involved in this. We have to spend our time in prayer and fasting and the study of the scriptures. So they chose 7 men full of the Holy Spirit and with 7 men of wisdom and of a good report. And they called those 7 men together, and they gave them the job of serving the people. And that was the job of the deacon. And so man has taken this office and promoted it to be something above what it was specifically originally set to be. And so, deacons are really servants of the people. And this power structure thing, I think it came within the denominational structure of the church. Now, though, I'm seeing more, with myself, like the younger men, I like to get them involved. And so I get them involved and I give them assignments and let them have it. Get them involved. let them run with it. You know, they have ideas. I let them run with it. Let them run. If they show that they got an idea, write it up, present it. If I think they can do it, hey, I'm stepping back, run with it. It's your baby, you know, and give them opportunities, because I'm not going to be doing this, I don't think, for the rest of my life. And so they're our next generation. And if you don't have, one of the greatest failures of our leaders is not having a plan of succession. And one of the saddest things I see is some of these old pastors in their 90s can barely remember their names, still trying to preach and get a paycheck. And they don't have a plan of succession. They don't want to turn over their pulpit to these younger ministers that's full of energy and vibrant, and that can really grow and bring the younger people in. They don't want the young. It's really sad, but these younger folk are the next generation of our church. And so I believe once we get a certain age, we have to give space to them to give language to how they present. I told my deacon, he's younger than me, and he said, what do you think about having a youth? He said, I want to do a youth church on Saturday, geared to the young people. I said, do it. I said, get it together. Let me see how you're going to do it. And then you do it. He said, well, you can come in and speak. I said, no. I said, you got to have people that can speak the language that these young folk can hear.
Right.
I said, I can do it, but I'm not attached to this generation like some of the younger ministers are. And so I'm wise enough to know, let this guy do it. He's younger, he's more involved with them. Let him do it. I'm just gonna oversee, y'all handle it. And so when you give them the space like that, your ministry will grow. These young people, they'll grow it. I'm telling you, but it's, to make a long story short, that's a problem in a lot of churches. And in those churches like that, you won't see any growth. You might see a lot of people, and there are people that's been there for 50, 60 years. But if you don't have any these churches that don't have any young people, there's no growth. That's not growth. What's going to happen when these folk die? Right. You know what I'm saying? You got to have a plan of succession with the young people. So it's this power structure, man. I think it's got to come down.
So when you take a look at this, when you look at the black man, when you look at slavery, coming out of slavery, you look at it coming out of Jim Crow, black man was so relegated to such a lower level, being beat up. So here's what I believe. Inside the church, in a position as a deacon or a position anywhere in the church, that's the only place we felt manly. So when we understand that, because once they walk outside that church, yes, I'm boy, yes, I'm boy, yes, I'm boss, but inside that church, so I can understand them being so very possessive, because that's the only place that they possibly, now this is my opinion, I'm not saying it's true, but that's the only place, if I was in that position, I probably would feel that way. The only place that I could feel like a man in a position, and this is the only thing I have right now, because anywhere outside of the church, I'm less than. So I can understand why they do that. So you see, and just like Apostle said, but there has to be a teaching, there has to be a new setting. Let me ask this question real quick, Apostle, because there's a lot of young people leaving the church. I don't know if you answered this or not, but they're going to Hebrew Israelites. I'm not talking about the ones that's standing on the corner.
Right.
I'm talking about they're just coming, they're just believing that
the moderates.
Share with your opinion about that with us.
Even though they're going to the moderates, it's still not orthodox. It's still a false it's still false doctrine. And really, without getting technical and just bringing it full circle to what it is, it's a search for identity. It's a search for identity. And no disrespect, there are some blacks that are Jews, but it is insane to believe that everybody that came here by way of the Mid-Atlantic Passage is Jewish, the original Jews. Because all of us, some of the slaves that came here are from Barbados, some are from St. Croix, some are from different parts of the world. Not all of us came from West Africa. So, and then if you do a study of the Hebrew Israelite doctrine and where it originated from a man, I'll tell you his name. Hold on, I'm gonna tell you his name. His name is
I remember I used to remember his name.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you his name.
But I do believe that what you were saying while you're getting that name, I do believe that
Rabbi Wentworth.
Is that Wentworth?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think I think that's it.
Wentworth A. Matthews.
Right.
Yeah.
But here's again. But what is attract? I know that when you say when they find the identity, because I've noticed a lot of young people. So how do we? Because a lot of young people want to know the history,
right?
But then when they this is a good question right here, and I'm probably going left on this one. We understand the kingdom culture, and then we have a black culture. How does that? A lot of times when the young people are here, well, there's no Jew, no Greek, there's no color, and then then they're trying to figure out what their culture is, and then you hear them in the church saying, well, there's only one culture, the kingdom culture. Now, but they want to know about their self.
Right.
Am I making sense? Go ahead.
You got to remember, the oldest Christian church is in Ethiopia. And so not the Moors, but the Coptics, they still have their culture. But their culture is not anti-Christian, if that makes any sense. Now, we're not talking about Roman Catholic. See, when people hear Christian, they get a sense of Roman Catholicism. We're not talking about Christendom. We're talking about the way, the followers of Christ, the way. So the Eastern Orthodox Church, which is where the Coptics are, that's what the Coptic Christians are, Eastern Orthodox. They follow the teachings of Christ, but they still have their culture, but their kingdom. They have kingdom culture, but they live in this world, but they're not of this world. The same as us. Go ahead, sir.
Well, for the sake of because we're using terms that a lot of people don't understand.
Okay.
What is kingdom culture?
Kingdom culture is the culture. It's like manifesting the kingdom of heaven on earth. It's adhering to the government of God. So the same way the United States is not a kingdom. And that's why that term is kind of foreign to us, because we've never lived in a kingdom. We live in a democracy. So like the kingdoms like Great Britain, they understand the kingdom concept because they live in like the United Kingdom. They understand that. And so every kingdom has a constitution. Our constitution in the United States or in the kingdom of God is the Holy Bible or the scriptures. And so basically we live by the constitution of the scriptures. Right?
Right.
So when we're talking about the culture of the kingdom is like we live by faith. Faith is the currency of the kingdom, right? Without faith, it's impossible to please God.
Now, let me ask you this now.
Okay. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, because I'm getting kind of confused here because I see a delay on my screen, and it's I'm thinking that you're done. But what I wanted to say is, in the terms of healing, right? Now, if a young man, how would you deal with a young man that will come to your church, saddled with a lot of the stuff that you and I and Ray, we grew up with? No father in the house, probably surrounded by a bunch of women, feeling emasculated, all of those things, So this young man, unsure of himself, insecure. So, probably the sole breadwinner, as I was at one time, probably the sole breadwinner of his household. So, Apostle, you get this young man coming to you and he's mad at the world, and because he just feels like, he just ain't got no shot. What would you, Apostle, how would you mentor that young man? What would you do? What would you do with him?
You mean how?
Hold on. Before you answer that, and here's the thing, because that's like a loaded question. Because the next thing, that young man, he ain't trying to hear about no Jesus, but he come to church. Go ahead, Apostle.
I mean, this happens all the time. And some you win, some you don't. The ones that stick with it, this is not a preach a message on Sunday, tell them to come back next week. That's if you're not in it, in the community that I'm in, if you're not in it seriously to see ain't no money in it. So if you're not in it to see the transformation of lives and to walk and to do life with these people, go home. You're useless. And so I'm in a position where I don't get a salary. I'm not in it for the money. So, I believe in paying it forward. So you have to walk with these young men. You have to walk with them. You have to take them to job interviews. You gotta walk with them. You have to do life with them if they will allow you to. And you got to show them, you have to keep your word. You have to be there for them. You have to show them that you're serious because they don't trust nobody.
Right.
You know why? Because the church has a track record of broken promises. One of my, I call him my little hitter. One of my guys, we do a lot of ministry in the different housing projects. And that's one of the things he told me. He said the people don't trust the church because the church then gave a lot of broken promises. And I never forgot that. And so one thing I try to do is keep my word. I try to stand on my word. If I tell you I'm going to be there, I'm going to come pick you up. I'm going to take you to the interview and I'll wait for you. I'm going to take you to get you a shirt. You got to have a shirt and a tie. I'm going to take you to get it. I'm going to do it. If I got to cancel something else because I gave you my word. And so sometimes it works. More times than not, it doesn't. Because these young guys, they're dealing with stuff it's different now. I never seen it like this before, brother. I've never seen it. It's heartbreaking. The stuff that if you go out there and you actually see it, and be in it, it's devastating. I grieve at it, man. It's to see our young people, man. It's terrible, way worse than when we were out there. And
no doubt about that. I mean, it's definitely way worse than we were out there.
if we can
But
get,
I like what you said about the commitment part, because I mean, you know, when we first started this, Ray and I, we basically like bore our souls out there to you know, the audience, man. Let you know, and I grew up in a single parent household, and you're used to, as you just said, Apostle. I'm glad you stated that, because you know, young black men are used to being abandoned, you know, and I'm so glad that you talk about keeping your word. So many times I know that when I was connected to the church, you know, you had you know, it was this emphasis on saving souls as opposed to doing what you just said. You know, it's like, okay, well, we want everybody to have Jesus, but you know, this kid's going home to empty refrigerator. The lights are probably off. I mean, I experienced that. Father, if he do got a man in the house, maybe mama got a couple of men that's running in and out of the house, you know, and so there's no safe refuge for him. So he goes to church and he says, well, man, at least it's a safe place here. And then all of a sudden now he finds that it's overtly feminized, as you said. And so it's like, okay, well, there's no place for, you know, and if you do find men there, you know, like you said, they're not keeping their word with him. They, you know, they want him to find Jesus, but you know, okay, fine. But you know, his physical needs aren't being met. He just told to just, you know, just wait for the by and by. So I'm so glad, Apostle, that you said about dealing with the physical needs, and because the spiritual will come. If that, you know, if that physical is met. Do you agree with that?
I agree with it, brother. I mean, if like when we do ministry, you know, out in the community, we got to give him a meal. I shared this story. I told a brother, he came from another city over, a few miles over, and he was doing like a tent meeting right there in where the gangs, where they do their thing at. And I told him, I tried to tell him, I said, man, you out here, you ain't got a hot dog. You ain't, right. They're not coming. They're not going to come. They don't know you. You ain't went out and met the people, and you think you just going, they're not going to listen to you. You can be the TD Jakes. They're not going to listen to you because you haven't developed a rapport with the community. They're not going to, and they didn't. He was there for like 3-4 days. Nobody came. Mm-hmm. And so when we go, wherever we go, man, we set up, we got like mobile everything. We set up and we cook meals, hot meals, and we feed, let everybody eat. You know, one time somebody said, well, they're just going to get the food and leave. Let them eat till it's gone. You know, let them eat. And we feed, and then we give the word, and then we pray for folk. You know, not bashing nobody, just loving on folks. Sometimes just go out and just love people and pray for them. Ask them, do they want prayer? Feed them, laugh, shoot some hoops. Just love on folk, man. Folk need that. Give them some hope. But yeah, I don't like it when I see a lot of that same thing. They come in once a year, have a big basketball tournament, and then before they let the people eat, they say, well, who saved? And they don't. Right. How many want to get saved? So maybe 30 young guys, and then they do the prayer, and then they get on Facebook and say 30 guys got saved. Well, what's their name? Well, who's doing follow-up? Right. Do you know where they live? So the problem is there's no discipleship. And that's the problem, brother. We have to disciple these people. We're not walking, we got to do life with them. And so we're not following the principles of the scriptures because we got to break bread with them. We got some little boys, man, they live right there. If it wasn't for the church's intervention with these twins, we call them our twins. Mm-hmm. And these boys be out there banging right now, but we go get them. We We do that Christmas. We go to the schools and check on them, and they call us when one of them not acting right, and they love to come to church, man. We got the kids thing set off for the kids, and they learn and they get snacks and food and stuff, and then we take, I go by there and spot check. see if they got groceries, and we take them groceries, and just little stuff like that, man. They'll always make sure their shoes straight, you know, because they don't have a dad, and their mom is, you know, she got some challenges, you know, and so it's just little stuff, man, that we try to do, man. And like I said, you won't reach everybody, but if we can get one, if we can get one young man off them streets, that's a nation.
Right.
You know, and it's sometimes it's real hard when you're doing it the right way. It's very hard, very depressing sometimes when you care and love our people, you know, the way we love our people, man, and just to see the condition and like, do anybody else see what we see? Why can't we all join together with all these money these churches got? Why we can't pool our resources and go help our people?
I ask that all the time. You know, it's not because of lack of resources. It's that, you know, I agree with you, Apostle. Not because we don't have the money. Some of these churches, man, are doing quite well.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna take this another real quick, because most of y'all know what I do. Here's the sad part, and it's sad what Apostle said, what's going, you know, the condition. But here's the sad part, and everybody know I deal with the homeless. I'm on the streets. I deal with everybody know not everybody. I hope you guys know now. I'm like in the midst of all this stuff, and you know, and we talking. These guys know Christ. A lot of them know Christ. A lot of them know the Bible. Here's the sad part, and they hungry, and I don't have a church to send them to. That's going to do the stuff Apostle talking to. I can't listen. So they're there, hungry, and am I going to send them to a church where, you know, they're going to go in there for a week or two and say, "Man, I told you this was like that"? How do we solve that problem, Apostle? Or is it solvable? You know, how do we?
Well,
go ahead.
I mean, you gotta, like, what I do. I connect with, you know, like-minded brothers that are pastors, like Pastor Corey and Apostle Jimmy, and that's doing the same, that have the same heart, and you connect with like-minded, because it's somebody somewhere in your city that's you know, everybody's not. Let me say this in defense of the church. There are some people all over. You know how you hear about Chicago, you know, our counterparts all the time talking about they need to use that energy to stop us. Man, there's some brothers and some ministries in Chicago putting that work in. They put that work in the community, man. It's some church. You don't hear about it, but they out there advocating. They out there in them streets, and they out there trying to help them young brothers and sisters. And they really out there grassroots putting in work. Churches, you know, they're not the huge mega churches, but they grassroots putting work in the communities, you know, doing what we're talking about. But it's such a huge problem that it would be good if some of the huge mega ministries would join in and help, but they're doing what they need to do. And so if they're just getting a section at a time, it's a win. And that's how we do. You find out, like, if you're in New Orleans right now, you find the pastors that you know that's putting that work in, and you connect with them and you send them to them. That's what you do. You know, and you know some pastors.
I know them all.
You know? So
look, real quick.
And they got to be biblically literate.
Yeah.
You know.
Real quick, Malcolm X Center. He said, Brother Mawu Davis Esquires in Atlanta facilities with Afrocentric Young Men Group. Let Us Build Men. Ray Winbush, Baltimore, Maryland, has another group. He says, you all hooking up could be the beginning of another violence intervention movement. We need what you're talking about across the country. Now, I got to go there real quick because we ain't got that much time. Brother, send your information in. Hear me out. Now, probably a lot of people might not like this. So Malcolm said this: put your religion on the side just for a moment. Right? Work together. Now, they don't mean technically, I'm not going to put my Christianity on a shelf, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the good for the men without sinning, without going beyond what I need to do. So, I mean, we really need to, because I'm listening to this, what he's saying is exactly what I believe in. Us coming together as men for the purpose of helping young black men. Okay. And if we could do that, because we have a lot of grassroots organizations that, like you said, if we put all our resources together, capital is not an issue. Money won't be the issue.
Right.
Trust me. Favor brings whatever you need. But if we can just, for a moment, for a few moments, formulate, even if you do it like this, okay, listen, Malcolm and Martin did this. Malcolm said, okay, I'm going to take the East, you take the South. Brother Apostle, I need you to take all the young Christian brothers. So-and-so, I need you to take all these young brothers, you know? So just coming up with a strategy that brings the young men, you know, and solve solutions in their problem. She says, as a black man, a gay black male, is this exclusively hyper masculine? Oh, okay, I'm not going there. All right, but anyway, so that is something that really, really is something to think about. And I always tell you, Apostle, and you know, I'm gonna say this openly, man. People need to hear your voice on a national level. I tell my cousin the same thing. Guys like you are the ones that need to be heard in our black community, and hooking up with like-minded people with and watch this. It'll only be a remnant, but I guarantee you that remnant will make changes in more people's lives than ever before. That's all I got to say.
Well, I want to chime in on that because I want to talk to or respond to I think it's CJ Celestin.
Yeah.
See? Yeah, and no, it's not exclusionary, and I just want to say that it's not exclusionary. One of the missions of this podcast, at least, and my mission, I can only speak for myself, is that we're healing. We are here for black men, whether you're straight, whether you're homosexual, whether you're trans. We are here for black men. Now, one of the things that I agree with what Ray said is the fact that, and I'm gonna tell you something. I've seen this work when I lived in Newark, New Jersey. A group of us men, Muslim, Christian, homosexual men, we all got together and we decided, or we were escorting children back and forth to school. And it was during the time when Newark was having this Newark was having this rise in gun violence. And so we all volunteered, and it was from men from different backgrounds, black men from different backgrounds. And so we took, we would walk these kids to our neighborhood schools. We were so successful. And it's another thing that as black men, we have to be on point about, is how there's a lot of forces and powers that be out there that don't want us to be successful. And I tell you what, when we were doing this, the Booker administration, when Cory Booker was mayor, I don't know if it came from him. I won't say that. I don't have no knowledge of that, but it came from somewhere up high where we were told that we couldn't do that anymore. And so we were told that we couldn't walk these kids to school. We couldn't go on school property. And we were basically told that we couldn't do this anymore. When the kids came out of school, some of these kids were crying because they got used to looking for us to be there where they felt safe. And they came out and they were looking for us. And a lot of the kids, especially the kids that were in elementary school, they were actually crying because we were the only thing that they saw of some kind of symbol of security. So I just wanted to just talk to C, because you have religion and you have religious beliefs, and that's respected. But I follow the principles of Malcolm too. Is that when we come to community, everybody's not a Christian, everybody's not a Muslim, everybody's not everybody's not going to be religious. So me personally, and like I said, I can only speak for me, is that no, it's not exclusionary to C's question. So and these are the type of divisions a lot of times that I think sabotages our efforts and to do the type of healing that we do, you know. So anyway, that's my sense. I want to leave the last 5 minutes to the apostle, and
let me just say something real quick too. See, go and watch our podcast from last week. We talked exactly about what you were talking about, and you'll see the position that we stand in. Go ahead.
Brother C, no disrespect to you. Everybody has their own convictions. I would never disrespect another black man, regardless of your beliefs, your lifestyle. Is not my intent to be disrespectful, and no disrespect meant. Thank you for your comments, but I did not mean to disrespect you. But anyway, I think we can. There was a brother I worked with here. He's deceased now, and he was with the nation, Brother Robert Muhammad, and we didn't agree on theology at all. But I love that brother, and he loved me, and we would come together and we would do work for the community. One thing we agreed with: the black man was in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And me and Brother Rob would come together many times, and we put that work in the community. And he was very sincere in his efforts. And when he died, it left a void in the nation's presence in North Carolina. I don't know what they got going on now with their leadership, but he was really effective. He was in the community, you know, and he was sincere. He was sincere, you know. He put theology out of the way, and he was his heart was pure about what he was doing. So with that being said, yeah, I think we have some serious issues, man.
We do. Apostle, just let me get in here. We got like a couple of minutes left, and I don't want to end this program without you telling us how we can get in touch with you, with your church, and what you guys got going on.
Okay. You can follow us on Facebook, Sons of Issachar Ministries, Sons of Issachar, Understanding the Times and Seasons, Sons of Issachar Ministries, SOI _ministries, Instagram. You follow me on Facebook, I am Shepherd. And we have a program in one of the projects. It's called a Youth Enrichment Program, where we're in there every week. We was shut down during the pandemic, but we're starting back. This is our 4th year consistently in one of the housing projects. What we do is we educate the kids, teach them life skills, we teach them biblical principles, and we feed them every Tuesday. And then on the holidays, we feed the whole projects. And we've been doing it consistently. Like I said, this is our 4th year. We actually was recognized by the North Carolina Housing Authority last year, and we funded ourselves. We don't have any grants or anything. We funded ourselves, and the goal was to have every housing project in the community have one of the programs in there. I was hoping other ministries would, kind of follow suit, and we would train them, and then they would, But anyway, that's our goal. That's our vision, to have one in every housing project. Also, we do a ministry at the homeless shelter where we do their night feedings every month. We do their night feedings. We're currently doing an addiction recovery program called Live. And Live is live in victory every day. It's a Christian-based program, but it's open for everybody. And we every other Tuesday, we bring an ex-addict in to speak. We have a dinner for everybody. It's a no judgment zone. And then if anybody needs to go to rehab, they don't have insurance, we pay for them to go away to a rehabilitation center.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah,
wonderful.
yeah.
Well, we're at that time, Apostle Kayam Shepherd.
Yes,
Man,
sir.
thank you. We appreciate you for being with us today. And I'm
Yes.
going to toss this over, and like LeBron, to my cousin Ray to take us out.
So look, we're gonna get ready to get out of here. We appreciate the apostle. We appreciate my cousin Baba Luqman, and I got to get the person, my producer, my cousin Jackie, doing a great job. But listen, don't miss this tomorrow night. You can go on Black Power Media. Black Power Media. Make sure you subscribe and you can join. You can see this again. But look, we appreciate you guys. Listen, if you have any questions. We already put our email in there, our email in there, add some questions, and we'll see y'all next week. And hey, listen, I got to do my favorite saying. We're coming to you live all the way from here. Where's here? Right here.
Right
you
here.
Heard me? Baby.
Hey, appreciate you guys. And we'll see you next Saturday, God willing, and the creek don't rise.